4, 3,
We need to get around.
2, and 1. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, geek and geekettes, from one solar system to the next, galaxy to galaxy, ladies and gentlemen, you are on the Black Geeks Podcast. Thank you so very much. Please, no, everyone, thank you so much. Just have a seat. Thank you. I'm so glad to be here. I've just gone a long way. I'm at my top secret bunker in a far, far away land. So, a little bit different surroundings. But thank you so much. You're here with the Black Geeks. I am your host for this evening. I am Big Baba Rob. I am quite effervescent, and I'm here for you. And I hope you are here for some really great information, geekdom, and some good conversation. Before I get started, though, I'm not alone in this. I could not do this without these incredible geeks I have here on the line with me. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce you to that guy over there in the crown and scepter. That's King Face. What's going on, King Face?
You know what? I'm going to take this time just to say a quick thing. I'm going to try to make it as quick as possible. I can easily go on. In the world today, we have this time, rapping say I could beat y'all, which is the truth, but we could talk a little trash, right? Or if we were to play Madden or something, I might talk a little trash, so I'm gonna beat y'all. If it happens that I lose, what happens is I need to take it and eat it. Don't turn around and do that loser strategy. You say, well, the game it's just a game anyway. It doesn't really matter. That's cool and everything. Then you shouldn't talk trash. If you go and talk trash, you want to cross the bridge, pay the toll. You lose, take the L and move on. So don't try to downplay it all of a sudden like it wasn't a big deal. Because if it wasn't, you wouldn't be talking trash in the first place. So if you don't like the trash talk or the results of trash talk, keep your damn mouth shut. Simple as that. And to anyone who's watching who knows me, you know what the hell I'm talking about.
What'd you say, Potbelly?
I said it sounded like he's about to go into the rock joint. Like, get your Rudy Poo candy ass up out of here.
I'm sure he probably would have been up there at some point in time.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Gotta talk about the trash talk. Ladies and gentlemen, that brother in the fine canvas hat, that's the Potbelly Samurai. What's going on?
Happy to be here.
Thank you, sir. Just to let you know, you're a little on the soft side. I don't mean you. I mean just your volume. So just want to let you know. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Just want to let you know. And then last but not least, we do have the Sithist with the mostest. Ladies and gentlemen, the guy over there, that's Darky Conius hanging out. What's going on, Darky Conius?
Hey, what's up, everybody? What's up? What's going on?
All right, that's everybody. That's the crew for the night. That's what we're rolling with. So let's kick it off. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've never been here before, let me show you around. Those right there, those are the geeks, and this right here, this is the Roundtable, and this is the church, and this is the people, and open the door. No, anyway. But yeah, so what we're going to do is we're going to go around. We've got lots of conversation. Folks have got stuff they want to talk about. And there's some topics that we definitely want to talk about that have occurred this week that some near and dear to our heart. So we're going to talk about the brothers who we all stand with Ahmed. So before we get started, we always have to get up to date with the latest in news and reviews. So ladies and gentlemen, I bring you Darky Conius and the Sith Cricket. Take it away, Darky Conius.
Okay. So, this week in Sith News, right off the burner, we have. Hold on a second here. I'm having issues in the background.
The Sith Cricket strikes again.
Boy, the Sith Cricket's got much bigger.
Strikes again.
Sith Cricket has got
steroids.
Yo, that's what happens. It's that nuclear fallout in the Death Star boiler room. That's what that is.
For anyone who's only just now getting on with us or whatever, which I need to understand a quick background. The Sith Cricket has been terrorizing our show, but not just our show, mostly Darth Geconius for months, almost over a year. And it's one of those strange, real evil crickets that like to just wreak havoc on the show. Whenever he appears, Geconius struggles. So, yeah, the Sith cricket has struck again.
Yo,
To
remember?
get this dude to do something major because he wants to be. He calls himself Sith, but he should destroy it. But he's acting like a Jedi right now. Oh, living things are important, so he doesn't want to destroy it. So
Yo,
once again, it wreaks havoc.
there was that one show where the Sith cricket kidnapped me, and I was lucky to get away that one time.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm back. Can we get to the show?
Sure we
You
can,
tell me.
Darky
Can we get to the
Cody.
show?
Yeah, we're good.
All right,
How
ladies and
about you
gentlemen,
force
Darky
choke the
Cody,
cricket and then keep it moving?
please
All right.
take it away.
So it's been reported today that the iOS App Store has actually been attacked with some malicious code, and Apple has removed it. But a lot of people know that it's hard to get through Apple's firewall. But it's actually been this is about the third time this has actually happened. It's just the first large-scale attack. Actually, it's been 5 that's ever been found. And for those wondering how did this happen, well, it appears that some developers, rather than use developer.apple.com and actually log in and use Apple software, they decided to use some bootleg versions of Xcode, which is free to developers, by the way. And they used some bootleg copies of Xcode that they downloaded from China because it was a faster server, and the malicious code was in the bootleg Xcode. Apple has identified those apps, removed them from the App Store, and is now reaching out to those developers to ensure they have a legitimate version of Xcode to develop their apps. So going ahead and get that out front before the Google people start saying, look, Apple got attacked, because the once in a year time that Apple get attacked is obviously equivalent to the 20 times a week that the Google people get attacked. Just putting it out there. Anyway, moving right along. A lot of people are kind of excited for a rumor that's going around this week about what the next Man of Steel sequel is going to look like. And apparently, it looks like there's going to be some serious people having PTSD based on what happened in Metropolis, of course. Clark is miserable because of all the different things that's going on. And it looks like there's some rumors that the storyline is going to feature Brainiac, and it's going to be heavily focused on Supergirl. So, we will see. But it sounds pretty interesting if you're into that thing. Speaking of major companies getting hit, the Volkswagen Audi group has just gotten in major trouble by the EPA and the White House, and they could face an $18 billion fine and have to recall all of their diesel vehicles, both Volkswagen and Audi, that have come out in the last 5 years, principally because they got caught using tricky software that tricks and fools the emissions testing process to say that the diesel engines are putting out less fumes than they actually are. So by a factor of like 40% more nitrogen in the atmosphere.
Whoa.
So obviously the EPA and the White House is very pissed off about this. And what's going to happen next, we do not know, but it does impact pretty much every diesel, Volkswagen, or Audi that has come out since 2009. So stand by if you happen to be an owner of any vehicle that has TDI in the name to see whether they recall your car or what they're going to do. But yeah, they got caught cheating, and now the repercussions are coming. And also movie rumor news, people have been wondering, since Spider-Man is going to be introduced in Marvel Civil War, well, how are they going to creep Spider-Man into the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And the latest rumor is basically that Spider-Man has always existed. That's something they announced from the very beginning. But he's been basically a myth or urban legend, which would explain why in the Marvel Cinematic Universe he's not showing up until now. And basically, by the time his actual solo film is released in 2017, Spider-Man would be technically have existed in the Marvel Cinematic Universe for approximately 2 years. So around the Civil War time frame, he would have just, not long ago been bit by the radioactive spider, if that's the origin they're going with. And he would be, low-level crime fighting, and people would just have sightings, but he won't be a full-fledged hero at that time. Also this week, Samsung has also lost their case finally After many appeals, the injunction against Samsung by Apple has been awarded. Unfortunately for Apple, I guess, it was from Samsung phones from like 2012, and Samsung has already corrected some of these issues where they were actually caught copying Apple functionality. So whether or not this is going to affect any Samsung phones being released or not, we don't know, but Samsung is still trying to fight it. Speaking of tech companies, and this one is getting friendly, as we all know, we reported earlier this month that at the Apple event, Microsoft and Apple stunned everybody by Microsoft actually presenting at the Apple event, showing how their Outlook products will work on an iPad Pro. Well, it looks like, recently Microsoft CEO Satya Nadella has actually did this return the favor in a keynote speech for the Dreamforce tech event. He actually used an iPhone to demo Outlook. So no one knows what Apple and Microsoft is up to, but now they're helping each other out at their keynote events, and we must all wonder if the world is going to end very soon. This week, Disney also released their first trailer for their real life version of the Jungle Book. Some people are excited about it. Others are wondering why Disney is making all their cartoons into real life action films. But go check it out if you've seen it. And last but certainly not least,
that's a remake though. Jungle Book has been live action before.
This is the remake of the one that they made as a cartoon.
Yeah, I mean, they've done the live action of the cartoon before.
But they're saying they're doing it from the cartoon. They're not saying it's a remake of the... Never mind. Anyway, as I was saying, this week, Twitter was a buzz and the whole internet was a buzz based on this young kid, Ahmed Muhammad, who brought a clock to school and was arrested for supposedly bringing a bomb to school. And everyone on Twitter went crazy and supported this kid, saying they stand with Ahmed, and he's received a lot of attention from tech companies. And a lot of people in the geek community are really concerned about that. So if you have been under a rock somewhere, have not been on Twitter, there's a pretty interesting story out there about this young kid who's a geek and got arrested for bringing the clock to school. That's it for SIF News. Back to you, Bob Rob.
Thank you, fine sir. And I'm looking forward to getting to that conversation a little bit later on in the show. I think that we all have opinions that we want to express about it. And there's just so much foolishness going on in the world. And it's interesting because this story kind of touched me personally, and I don't know how. You guys know I'm a builder, and that's what I do. And I remember building a lot of things. I never built the clock because I was never into electronics. Except I had like Lego Technics, so I like gears. I like to make stuff move, and I'm like, wow, that could have been me to some degree. So it felt really personal when I saw that story, and also just to think that this, what was done to him without his parents being present, really significant. So I definitely want to, if we just go around the table, talk a couple things. I definitely want us to have a conversation about that, because there's some facts that we really need to put forward about this. And I think that most of the facts have gone around the internet by now and everyone knows, but I just want to throw them out there when we talk about it. I have one question before we get started with the show, and maybe this is just my one piece. King Face, I got one quick question for you. And I guess I don't want to spoil it, but I just have to ask questions. So I'm reading this particular comic book, and they have found, within the comic book, it's DC Comics, they have found something called a mother box. And when they found this mother box, several people freaked out, and some people that you wouldn't nearly ever see break character. Who is the mother box connected to?
Dark Side.
Thank you. Okay.
Well, okay. it's connected to Darkseid in that universe. Granted, there's the new Genesis people who are supposedly fight Darkseid, but it's connected in that way to that realm.
Thank you.
So
I
it's
knew.
connected, yeah. It the mother, because the mother box is when you see a mother box, that means
Technology.
someone. Yes, it's
Using it
new
for
Genesis
wormhole.
technology. It's new Genesis technology, and it's normally like the Forever people who fight Darkseid, but it's connected in the end of the day to him because the strongest adversaries for Darkseid are those who are sprung from Darkseid. So it all goes back to him in some way, shape, or form. So yeah,
Okay. Thank you
that
very much.
means
I appreciate that. Now,
someone is involved in that.
okay. Now, I figured it had to be. I figured I had a good feeling it was Darkseid, but I wasn't 100% sure because they won't say his name, they won't show him. But I was like, when they said, "Oh look, we found the mother box," and everybody was like, everybody pulled a Krillin. It was like, oh, I was like, okay, something bad just happened, and I don't know. King Face, help! What does this mean? I don't get it. So thank you, I appreciate that. So I'll be definitely looking forward to the next edition on Tuesday.
Are y'all spoiling comics for people?
No, sir. No. Okay. Yeah, but notice I didn't name the comic. The only way you would know what comic it is if you watch this show regularly. So if you haven't watched the show, now you need to go back and watch like every show for the last 10 episodes, just because you should, and you can figure out which one I'm talking about. But I didn't ruin it for anybody because I didn't say the name of the comic. All I said it was DC, and DC has a buttload of comics.
Well, speaking of comics anyway, people should really check out those Star Wars comics by Marvel, especially Lando issue 4. Lando issue 4 was pretty good. It's a 5-part series. It's only 5 issues, people. The 5th one is coming out next month. Go check out Lando, like the only cool black character in the Star Wars universe at this time. He has his own comic. Check it out. It's really, really funny. And just in general, the Marvel Star Wars comics are really good, and the novels too. You should check out these new novels as part of the new canon. I'm not gonna go in detail, but King Face and I are knocking out the books, and I can just say that they're really, really good. If you want to expand your knowledge of what was going on behind the scenes and in between the various movies, as well as one that's just been recently released that's going to catch you up between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. So just wanted to put that out there since you mentioned comics.
Cool, and I'm gonna let you continue since you've already got the mic. Just quick breaking news: it appears that Viola Davis has won Outstanding Lead Actress in a Drama Series. She won an Emmy. Congratulations to Viola Davis. That's awesome.
Yay, she should have.
Yeah. I watched a number of the series this year. I didn't watch all of them, but a lot of them. And yeah, she played such a wide range of emotions. It was a really great show. So Darky Coins, while you got the mic, did you want to talk about Fear of the Walking Dead?
Fear the Walking Dead, boy, it's such a, depending on who you are, like if you watch a Twitter comment, some people are like, oh, it's too slow, I don't like it. I think the pacing is just right. There were like no zombies tonight at all. But I don't think that's the point of this show. That's what The Walking Dead is for. We get to see the zombies and all the craziness. But, tonight's episode was pretty decent. I don't want to get into too much, but if anybody's been watching, the army plot has really become real mysterious. And I'll just say this, if you know anything about the military, you know that storyline they're doing with the army is pretty dead on, at least to what I would expect would happen at the start of the zombie apocalypse. So I like that they're adding that little element to the story, and I had always wondered what it would be like if they added, military plot lines into The Walking Dead. So that's all I want to say about that. But I will say, as other zombie news, Z Nation. Really get on Z Nation. They're on their 2nd episode and of this 2nd season, and it's way more fast-paced and really exciting. You'll really enjoy it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. Let's jump over to King Face, see what he has for the roundtable today. King Face, what you got for the roundtable today, brother man?
Well, actually, oh my goodness, is that Ghost?
Yeah,
Look,
as usual,
looking like
as
a member of
usual.
Wu-Tang. Tell me I'm lying. Tell me I'm lying.
Good, man. We're just starting to go around the roundtable, so you're just in time. Yo, so King Face, you got the mic, man. What's going on?
Well, it's kind of I got a couple topics, but it kind of all encompasses the same thing. So I'll preface it by saying it's mostly to do with the new age of things. Like, so one of the things I was sitting down here in my little area, and I was working on something, and then my son came down, and we did a quick workout together. Mostly me telling him to do most of the work, but he did his little workouts. And so when he was done, he's sitting there and he kind of sat with me and he starts asking me a bunch of questions about comic books and all that stuff. And it was one of those moments where I was like, it's funny because when I was coming up, I didn't really have talks with grown-ups about things like that. Most of it was with my peers, not with, you know, uh, people who were older who I might have looked up to. And it was funny because I think that probably is the difference between that's a critical moment I think in certain child's development, whether they embrace what they like and enjoy it instead of keeping it on a low and then missing out on many opportunities. And I give you a standpoint. A person won't say their names. I should, but I won't. Um, Identified my son with having a dual nature. And I was like, what do you mean? He's like, he hangs out with cool kids and geeks, but he could be a geek. And it wasn't that they said it like it was a cool thing. It was almost a diss. And it kind of had my hackles raised. And when I snapped a little bit, they looked at me like they didn't understand why I was tripping because they made the compliment like, no, he got a lot of girls following him and he's with the cool kids, but he's also a geek too, though. Like, he's just a little bit of a geek. He kind of likes doing geek stuff with other geek boys. And I was like, I don't understand what's the problem. And truth be told, I'd rather that than have him hanging around with the guys who walk around with the skinny jeans sagging. Oh hell no! You see what I'm saying? And it kind of got on my nerves, and I was like, that's the same thing that was happening when we were younger, where we couldn't enjoy stuff because you felt like, oh, I can't do that because the rest of my crew won't do that, so I'm not going to enjoy it. And what ends up happening is several things. You start to miss out on things that probably
Whoa, is he lagging?
I don't know what happened.
Like for example, my son likes to draw. He's
You
getting
almost
pretty
sounded
good
like
at it.
Optimus Prime transforming.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, Face, just let you know you're lagging really bad on this end. So like what the last sentence you probably said nobody caught because it was it.
Oh,
He was like, "Let me transform."
what I was talking about was then we went to the strip club and then everything. No, I was just playing. But what I was saying is there's a lot of things happening. There's a lot of things that gets missed out from a creative standpoint where they are afraid to be creative because they get talked down at like it's not a cool thing. And I think people like as parents, especially guys like us who are in those kind of things, who probably went through some of that when we was younger, it's kind of important not only to cultivate that in our kids and our children, but to kind of share experiences with them, especially in conversations, even in moments where you feel like you're too busy. Like I was busy, but then we ended up having a conversation. He started asking me questions, and it was funny because by listening to him, I got a good insight to where everyone is at, as far as where everyone is at as far as like, what they figure is good stuff and good what they're interested in, which kind of leads back to a conversation we had on the show before about content and what gain traction and what's cool and whatever and isn't. And one of the things that I remember saying is, as far as getting new content out there, it's definitely, room to do some of the newer characters because there's been precedent for it. You see like Fantastic Four, for all intents and purposes, I think before the movies, I don't think many people knew who Fantastic Four was. Not really. You look at Daredevil now on Netflix, how successful that was. That wasn't one of those characters that everyone knew about. And talking to my son, his favorite characters are thing where we want to stick to the originals. But at the same time, I think we should get a pulse of what's popular. Like, for example, me and Potbelly, when we went to the con, the top two cosplay characters were not the old school characters. They were characters that came out in the 90s. Freaking Deadpool and Harley Quinn. Those were the top cosplay characters on top of, I hate to say this, I don't understand how it went down like this, but on top of that clown, you might know, Baba Rob, what's that clown face name from Adventure Time? With the sheep head.
Oh, with the sheep head? Wait, you want Finn?
Finn.
I don't watch Adventure Time.
With the white hat, with the
white hat. Yeah.
That's Finn.
That was the number 4 cosplay character down there since we was down there.
Not a surprise.
I am. I didn't know. So.
Oh no, it's a deep show. The storyline is incredible, and they go places. It's deep. It's really deep.
But it goes to my point, like the younger generation could be swayed by some of the stuff, and they love it just like we do. If we kind of let them embrace it and kind of help them along the way to embrace their creative sides and embrace all of the stuff, to love it and not to feel, oh well, I don't want to do this because I don't want to be classified. I think that's stupid, and that's what happened to us. And we know we didn't like it, so why are we doing it to these kids? Because it's happening. That's a fact, and it's just it's a shame, and it's detrimental because we always talking about how there's a lack of creativity in Hollywood. There's a lack of creativity in these shows, and yet here we are downplaying, the younger generation for liking certain things and having creativity and wanting to be creative, and catching on to some of the stuff. They're reading the comments like we are, but they're liking some of the newer characters, which at the time they were created took a lot of creativity on the parts of the writers. But what if they did what they normally do and just stuck to the old guard? You wouldn't have popular characters like Harley Quinn and Deadpool. Harley Quinn wasn't even a comic book concept. They came out on a cartoon show, and she got so popular they just decided to put her in the comics, and it went uphill from there. There's precedence. We have to own it, and we have to move forward with it. Like, trust in the younger people, trust in the fact that people will flock to some of this newer stuff instead of saying, oh, we have to do another Superman, we have to do another Batman. It's been proven that's just utter nonsense. It's nonsense. We don't need any of those other things. And I think in doing that, it's two things happen. One, you start to flesh out the newer content, and two, you get what you want as far as, oh, well, if we can do it with these new guys, of course we can use female characters, black characters, Puerto Rican characters, if they're fun to read and watch, because it's been proven. And then you don't have that defense mechanism where we gotta stay with the status quo, because truth be told, the status quo ain't necessarily working. And that's just a fact. That's just something that I saw. I've been witnessing within the last week and a half. And it's not just my son. There's a lot of kids that's on the same stuff. He has a whole crew of people who like to do comic books. They make their own comic books. We should be pushing that. It shouldn't be he sits there and writes comic books with his friends. Like really, you gonna talk like that? Like that's it was. Granted, it was my son that pissed me off a little bit, but at the same time, it was like, but then you would rather him do what? Listen to Drake? And that's what you rather him do, and be one of them dudes? I don't see how you. I don't see how even that's even. How you even open your mouth to say some stupid stuff like that? But that's what it was looking like, and it's kind of suspect. And I think, it's up to us as parents and people like us to kind of push the issue when they seem interested in that kind of thing. I don't know what y'all thoughts are on any of those things I spoke on.
Let me say this as I'll respond. If anybody else wants to respond, you're right. We got to support the young people, and kind of what the conversation we're going to get into in a minute is going to talk about that. And you're right. The creativity does come from the young people. And whether it was, during our time when we were younger, and granted, we can still bring. Even us old heads, we can still bring some new ideas from our experience, but you're right. It's those fresh ideas that we have to encourage and that are going to move and progress, whether it's television or comic books, inventions. It is that young, inquisitive mind that opens a possibility. So yeah, that's a really good point. I'm going to move over to the Potbelly Samurai, let him pick up the next topic, see where he wants to take it. Potbelly, if you can hit us, if you got any major topics you want to talk about, let us know. Otherwise, want to also get Ghost in, and we want to get our main topic in too. So, Potbelly, you got anything good for the round table today?
I got a couple things. One is just a quick clarification, just to make sure I'm not going crazy here, or that I wasn't going crazy. Do a quick screen share for y'all. The Jungle Book, 1994. Damn it. By Disney. Now, moving on.
I never said that you were wrong, right?
Yo, shut up. It was your attitude. It was your
No, it was you interrupting my news segment and not paying attention to what was said.
So I'm moving along now.
No, you're gonna just eat humble pie and stop being ridiculous.
I'm not eating humble pie. You had a condescending attitude.
And the next topic is...
You're not going to be muting me.
Next topic, Potbelly number 2. Look here. Neither one of y'all going to talk. I'm going to get a mic to Ghost. Potbelly, what's your second topic?
Field dress again.
Potbelly, what's your second topic?
Second comment is books, man. His Royal Highness Sir Fatness the Great put me on to a new book series. It's joint called the Iron Druid Chronicles. I've been checking that out. That's actually pretty damn good. Well, it's all right. It started out a little bit slow. Now it's picking up. Starting to really enjoy it, get into it. So everybody check that out. I'm gonna save the rest of my comments for the Ahmed Muhammad discussion, because that had my the hair on the back of my neck standing up for a good long while.
All right, cool. Thank you. Ghost, anything you want to add to the round table before we get on this major topic here?
Get it going, man. Get it going.
All right, so let's lock and load on this one. I think everyone should be aware of the story right now. As Darth Yukoni has mentioned, if you have been under a rock somewhere, basically the situation that went down, this young brother, Ahmed Muhammad in Texas, basically a young inventor, like many of us out there, young creator. He built a clock and he took it to school. He showed it to one teacher. One teacher said, "Hey, that's pretty good. Just don't show it to anybody else." Well, the clock accidentally went off while it was in his bag. Another teacher looked at it, said, "Oh, this looks like a bomb." Okay, and so he got, obviously the administration got involved. They decided to call the police department. Police department came in, made some very condescending remarks, saying, something to the effect of, "Oh, I figured it would be him," and they arrested him in handcuffs, took him out of his school, took him downtown, questioned him, was later determined that it was just a clock and released. So a couple of quick facts, and I think Econius had pointed these out earlier in the week as well, is that, and a lot of people have said it, obviously they were wrong for what they did. Everyone is kind of the same impression that if his name was, Timmy, and he looked like Jonathan Taylor Thomas from back in the day, there's a really good chance that that would never have happened. That there is a stigma that's been assigned to young brothers with names
Here's
I guess it's fair to say
I
See,
Arabic name.
I think that's where you made the mistake, Baba Rog. You said there's a very good chance it wouldn't have happened, and that's just incorrect. There is 100% chance it would not have happened. It would not have happened. There
Okay,
would have been. There's no. Oh, everything is possible. No, it wouldn't happen.
Y'all might hate me for this, but
yeah, you got to go, right?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, you let us know.
I don't completely agree with everything everybody's saying. I mean, you're right. If it was some, you know, I'm gonna just say, if it was a little Caucasian kid, it probably wouldn't have went down that way. But y'all understand the times that we live in. Regardless of what your emotional feelings are, I can see how that played out, and especially after seeing the device itself, I can see how that played out. I'm just like, now any derogatory names or any weird way that they treated them was jacked up, but we live in that time, man. We live in that time where you can't fully. I mean, you can't just disregard anything anymore.
But that's fair. That's fair enough, Ghost. But and I was kind of laying out the rest of the facts, and this is what I was going to get to. I know Geekoni is probably going to say the same thing. You see, herein is the problem: is that they went only halfway. They went and arrested the boy. They arrested him saying that he had made this bomb, but they didn't follow any of the protocols relative to it. So that's where I think there's that big disconnect, is that how you, like you say, you err on the side of caution. If you erred on the side of caution and you arrested the boy for creating this device, quote unquote, why was the school not cleared? Why was a bomb squad not called in? If you thought it really was, why weren't those steps then followed?
Exactly. You're right about that. I'm just saying that I happen to see. I don't know all the facts, so don't beat me down. But what I had spoken to Econius, and he was telling me about this thing, and immediately I was incensed because y'all know, the day after, I actually saw the kid, and I was like, see, they're picking on this Muslim kid, and then I saw the device, and I was like, wow, now, y'all know what I do for a living.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I would have had some serious concerns about that particular thing. I'm just saying. So
all right, Econius.
And I know it's just a kid, but craziness is happening, and it's not just people of color, world trade, all these other, but we are going to be treated differently. Y'all know this. Everyone knows this. So to be angry that it happened, okay. To be shocked, I don't understand, because we know the routine.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. I wanted to get Geekonius wanted to jump in on the convo. Go ahead, Geekonius.
To be fair, if I was someone not informed or knowledgeable of what the device could possibly be, maybe seeing it as a non-adept, I might think something was suspicious. However, as I understand the facts, a science teacher looked at this.
Oh, now that I didn't hear. I thought they said English.
And so...
Wait, hold on a minute. I thought the first teacher was the science teacher and the second teacher was the English teacher.
Either way, some teacher had already seen it, and
yes,
and it was a science teacher.
It was already confirmed that it wasn't a bomb before the cops showed up.
And on top of that, we've cleared buildings out just on a threat that there might be a bomb.
I agree. 100%.
So I'm calling BS on the whole story. First off, I don't think that anybody really thought it was a bomb. But that being the case, there has been reported in the media over the last 2 years, several kids who brought similar looking things to school that are clocks and saying, look at this clock I made at home, and nothing happened. Do we want to know, we want to take a wild guess what those kids look like?
Oh, we already know. That's what we just said.
So my thing is, here's the issue for me. And I'm listening to you, Ghost, especially based on what you do for a living, which I'm not knocking your expertise. And, but my issue isn't so much of what it could have looked like or what people could have thought in a different situation. My issue is the presumption of something being amiss. And what I mean by that is, this just is not about Ahmed. This is all of our teens of color, our children of color. It's always presumed the worst first.
Absolutely.
It's never, look at the young kid Tamir Rice, right? That got killed in Cleveland. The person who called 911 should not even have called 911, but they called 911 and said, hey, there's this young 12-year-old kid outside with a toy gun. Y'all might want to, tell them to stop with that toy gun before somebody think it's real. And what the cops do, they show up and they kill them. There seems to me to be this culture, at least in America, that I, happen to notice, to where if it's a child that's not a child, a person of color, it's always, oh, what could that thing be? What do you have there? I'm willing to bet if his name was Jonathan Smith or something, his ancestry was from Europe, they would have said, even if they had a suspicion that it might be something else, they would have asked first, like, hey, what is that? You get what I'm saying? But it's when you see young Ahmed, you don't question him and say, oh, what is that? Oh, that's really cool. Hey, just don't do that again because the wrong person could think such and such and such. No, it's right out the gate. Put him in handcuffs. It must be a bomb. Take him down to holding. Don't call his parents. I mean, they do the same thing with kids as young as 6 years old now. Look at the young sister at the pool party. They got her on her stomach, and the cop got his knee in the back. Like she, just the other day, the kid that got beat up by 6 cops. No, 9 cops for jaywalking.
No sense.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? It's like,
they tried to arrest the kid for not having a helmet in South Central.
Exactly. So to me, it's not even about if it was a situation where this was any other kid, and after they sat down with him, looked at it, and then they expelled him because they said he shouldn't have brought it to school, then we could probably have a reasonable discussion about what it looks like and what people should think when they see it. But when you went straight from 0 to 100, it was because, he's Arab looking and has a Muslim name.
We all understand the time that we live in, right? Our children and most children of color are being singled out, and everything is always extra when it comes to them. So as parents, and we have to be cautious as to what we let our kids do, which sucks, completely sucks, because I know for a fact, and I ain't even gonna say that because it's just gonna cause some controversy, but if that was my kid, this would have went way over to the left. And everybody would have, well, why the hell he do that? He couldn't, why didn't he get a lawyer? Because you get where I'm going? I just can't imagine. But again, like I said, from what I do and the people that I work with, I could see how that went from 0 to 100 really quick, and they wanted to make an example. You get
right.
No, I
get what you're saying. And Geek Coins, if you give me a minute, I want to try to give Potbelly the opportunity to comment as well. So because he's been quiet for a little bit of this, Potbelly, I know you want to share your comments as well on the situation.
honestly, I think is a fundamental lack of responsibility in our society and how we handle these situations. And I'm specifically speaking with regard to uh, individuals in authority. Like you have conscious and you have unconscious bias, but when you're in a position of authority, you have the responsibility, you have an obligation to look beyond that and try to be a fair and impartial arbiter under these situations. Everybody brings their own level of baggage to a situation. However, in circumstances like this, when you're dealing with the welfare of children, I mean, let's not get it twisted. This is a child. He is 14 years old. Um, so to knowingly arrest a child and subject a child to that kind of indignity and scrutiny based on your biases when it has already been made clear that not only is this child not a threat, the premise for which you built your response is false. The teachers who initiated this should be fired. Like you should not be teaching and passing on this level of ignorance, willful ignorance, in the school system. And we're having this conversation about Ahmed, about the clock, and about how he was right and how they were wrong, but we're not talking at all about the responsibility or accountability of adults for sending a child to jail. You know,
They are men and women in their eyes. So we can sit here till we blue in the face talking about, well, how do you do that to a child? But their children are always going to be children, and our children, when they're old enough to walk and talk and hang out and walk the streets by themselves, they consider them adults and they treat them accordingly. It's unfortunate, but it's a reality, and as parents of children of color, we have to be more responsible. We have to worry about what they're doing and where they're going and what they're presenting to the rest of the world. Again, we just said a kid was jaywalking. Who in the world gets a ticket for jaywalking in this day and age? And second, when the hell does a police officer stop someone for jaywalking? Right? We have to agree with that fact right there. So,
your real
Can I
talk.
What?
Go ahead, Face. Go ahead.
Yeah, let Face have a minute on that. Thank you.
What I'm going to say to that is this, man. What Ghost is saying is correct in one stance, is that's what it is. And I don't think it's so much that they look at them not as they're not children. That's not what it is. They look at them with fear. There's a difference. And so they simply fear them. Now, if they fear them and the result is they treat them like an adult, that's one thing. But it's not that they see them, they say they're adults, they just fear them. They'd fear them when they're 6. Let's keep it real. They fear them when they're little. They fear them in general. It's a strikeout. But here's where I guess that we have a disconnect. So we have one of two things that we haven't. Are we talking, let's take a stance of tolerance and let's just keep getting bent over and booty raped and it's okay? Or are we talking, so what are we going to do about it? Because it sounds like to say, oh, well, it is what it is, so let's just keep it going. That's what cowards say. Not you in particular, but that's what we say. Like, for example, when we say one man can't make a difference. See, that's what someone says who doesn't want to be held responsible for making change. That's what people do when they say one man can't make a difference. The world is a horrible place, so we just need to maintain. That's what you say when you want to keep your head in the sand. And you want to justify that you're keeping your damn head in the sand. You don't want to say it, so you say dumb stuff like, well, one person can't make a difference, when it's clearly, if you look at history in any way, shape, or form, that's not true. You don't want to say, well, the world is what it is, and it isn't going to change. You look at history, that's clearly not true. But you don't want to be the one to do it. So you'll say dumb stuff like, oh, well, I ain't going to make a difference. So, yeah, it is. They do fear the kid. They do fear our youth. But are we saying that it's okay? I should be angry. More people should be angry on a regular basis. And I think that is where it starts. What happens is we have those quick outbursts of anger, and in a week from now, no one's going to talk about it. We're going to go back to normal because it doesn't bother you. You see what I'm saying? It's not affecting you. The only people who will probably trip is the parents. They never go away. And then what ends up happening is a month from now, when you see them still trying to raise the anger flag, you be like, we still talking about that? That's what we do. We still talking about that.
In this case, what happened? They done gave this kid some NASA shirts, and they gonna take him to the White House, and the mama's in the camera smiling. She should be pissed the hell off. She should still be hot as hell right now.
And that's what happens. What happens is you get these people or parents who get politically correct. You know, they'll say, oh, well, we don't want everybody to be upset. No, damn it, I want everyone to be upset. If it happens to me, I want y'all cats to know right now. If y'all ever say any pacifist word in my defense, I disown you all. I want y'all to be angry because I'm angry. You know what I'm saying? You will never in your life hear me say, well, I think we should just come to a place of healing. No. The only way you heal is to burn it all down first. That's how it happens. Then peel the scabs off. But you ain't going to just sit there and say, well, it normally happens. So that's what we can't do.
Here's
we can acknowledge.
Here's the other situation. And the other side of the coin is where this stems from. We have a cancer in our society that has gone unaddressed for far too long. And that cancer is racism. Like, we have not, as a country, as a society, dealt with the racial history that's led us to this point where we exist now. We just haven't. So until we really stop pussyfooting around it and actually address racism, the legacy of slavery, white privilege, and overall ignorance, because we have an uneducated population. We have an ignorant-ass population. You know, most people in this country, unfortunately, are not aware of their history, and they're not aware of our place in history and how that connects with the greater world. So you have very, very complicated and nuanced debates being boiled down to sound bites for the simple consumption and not digestion of the uneducated masses. Hence why you have individuals like Donald Trump, who was leading in the polls when he should have got laughed out of any debate he stepped foot on the stage of. And we're still dealing with this because of that history of racism and ignorance that continues to be perpetuated, and it's perpetuated on the backs of minority populations, and it's perpetuated on the backs of young people like this young brother Ahmed Muhammad. I'm sorry, like, I cannot in any way justify this situation in arresting a 14-year-old for having a clock that was already deemed a clock before the police were called.
Go ahead, Dr. Tonius.
I just want to say I'm listening, and you know, my brothers, y'all are some of the smartest people I know. I'm being perfectly honest. And
thank you.
You know, I'm listening. You know, Ghost is making good points. Face, everybody making good points. And the thing that troubles me, because this is so cyclical right now. I mean, just in the last several days, you got people doing backlash, trying to prove that he really isn't an inventor, and oh, we shouldn't believe the clock. And you got Bill Maher and Sam Harris on it. Not Sam Harris, Richard Dawkins on it. You got Donald Trump, a guy at the at his rally talking about Obama's a Muslim. He doesn't say anything, and you know, Hillary comes out to get her sound bite. Oh, he's definitely not a Muslim, and you shouldn't say stuff like that. And I'm just saying to myself, everyone's missing the point. Everyone's missing the point. You know, this idea that, yeah, I have five, well, I have a lot of sons, and you know, I have these talks with them too about what they should do, shouldn't do. Basically, what's the rules of engagement when you're outside this house? And the point isn't that as a parent, I shouldn't, you know, of course I should do that, but the issue is I shouldn't have to.
Yeah.
The issue is I shouldn't have to. And we also know it's a reality that because of the history of racism and 400 plus years of subjugation, oppression, and persecution, that we still live with that legacy. We know that is true. My question is, much like a conversation I heard the other day about what are we doing about supporting each other in this geek thing. Bison brought it up in the chat about cosplaying, and Arts Humana brought up the Clark doll study. All these things we know. We know, at least those of us who put forth the effort of actually knowing what's going on in the world. My issue is, when are we going to actually start doing? And what I mean by doing, no, I'm not talking about let's go marching and do all this other stuff. I'm saying some actual practical steps. I'm talking about some actual practical steps. You know, people don't like to hear it, but it's true. If you want to support black people, you know, the black comic book creators, black movies, black film, then put your money where your mouth is. Pay for the comics. Put money into the Kickstarters. Promote the movies. Buy the t-shirts. Go to the websites. You know, it's no more different than what Martin Luther King said, you know, the night before he died. And he even said it. It's a quote. He said his dream was turned into a nightmare, but they keep telling us about his dream. And, you know, he said, put your money in the black banks. You know, put your money, you know, we got $13 trillion. And the brother Ahmed, you know, we claim him as one of our own. He is from Africa. His family's from Africa. He's not an African American. You know, I think this family is actually from Sudan. We got to say the same thing to our Latino brothers and sisters, our Native American brothers and sisters, all the people of color. We just got to stop putting money into it. It's that simple. You know, if you got a school system that won't support you, won't put the right books in, don't go to that school system. Homeschool, do something else. You know, the cops ain't right. You know, go down there. You know, you gotta put money where where your money is. I'm just saying, money talks.
Money talks.
At the end of the day, money talks, and we're not willing to put that money where our mouth is.
I'm with you 110%, and that was the next point I was going to get to. Like, if you really want to hurt somebody, you got to hurt them in their pocket. You know, you file a lawsuit against the school, you file a lawsuit against the teachers as individuals and as the school district and the police department as a whole. That'll start changing the game up. If every time you turn around and you do something stupid, you're going to get hit with a $10 million lawsuit, that'll really start to change the game, because everybody take you serious when money's involved. Like the Montgomery bus boycott was so successful because of the economics of it. You know, they shut them down. They brought them back to the tables. It's like, whoa, we you know, F the back of the bus. Like, you know, we need them on the bus, period. Like, it's one of those situations where we have to be very tactical in how we address it, and we have to address it from a financial standpoint. And Bryson made a good point in the chat. He was like, we've been discussing, you know, racism since the day before forever, and it really ain't got us nowhere. And he's right. Like, we got to start talking about the economics of it all.
We could be as academic as we want to be about the situation.
That's what I'm saying. That's basically what I was saying. Everybody's got a lot to say. I honestly don't care what anybody got to say at this point, and not because I'm insensitive to your opinions. I'm simply saying, what you gonna do about it? What you gonna do about it? I mean, you gonna do something? Let's do something. What always irks me is when these things happen and it fizzles out and no one talks about it again as if it never happened. And then we look at the people who still try to do stuff as the weird ones. Like, he's still talking about that. Everything is normal now. Have you heard? and it's not normal. It's not good. And I think what has to happen is, like Econia said, you want to cross the bridge, pay the toll. You know what I mean? And you got a lot, and people. There's probably some folks where you're jumping off on a tangent. No, it ain't, because it all comes back down to the same thing. When you support each other and you help each other grow, and we all can enter that place. It's one thing when you feel like, oh well, there ain't nothing that's gonna come of this. And it's another thing entirely when you start messing around with a community and they push back to the point where it hurts your pockets, and you're going to say, well, hold up. Okay, let's get that guy. And whether it's genuine or not, they're going to get got. You know, I knew, okay, I don't want to say their names neither. I knew a family where the boy, or it was a brother and a sister. The sister was getting harassed by a police officer when they were driving. She was driving, and they put her over because they basically saw her and they saw the boy in the car who had dreads. Okay, so they assumed they hit him with the playbook that they have that everybody thinks doesn't exist. Okay, well, we want to mess with them. Let's go hit them with the weed charge because everybody smoke weed, right? Okay, so hey, this car smells like weed. No, it doesn't. It smells like potpourri, but I'm going to think it smells like weed, and you can't prove that one way or another after the fact. So this car smells like weed. Get out the car, type thing, right? They got out and they frisked them illegally. Right? They went along with it, and it was invasive to the female. And the boy was like, "No, let it happen. Just go ahead and do it." Now I wouldn't have did that, but what the cops didn't realize, A, is that they were a block away from their parents' house. B, this was one of those neighborhoods where people actually know people, and it wasn't some rickety old neighborhood. In that neighborhood was 6 lawyers, a congressman, and like a couple police officers. And it came down. It went down. Now, you don't hear about this because they're not going to put that in the news because they took the L. They took the serious L. That cop took the serious L. And they're not going to say, well, police officers, no, we don't want to talk about this. Let's go ahead and push that right away. Because what ended up happening it was like, yo, what are you doing? Oh, and by the way, the parents were lawyers, good ones, defense attorneys, and all. It's your ass, Mr. Postman. You see what I'm saying? But see, and that was a thing, but it didn't even take long. It wasn't a long, drawn out process. It was you messed with the wrong ones and got caught slipping. More of us should be like that. We should be on that stuff on a regular, but they're not. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you is, do you know most of the people in your neighborhood?
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, it depends on how you're asking me. I mean, because I did, but they all keep moving.
People scared to the point that I lived in my neighborhood for 14 years. I say hi to everybody that comes in and out of the neighborhood, and we still have people that they won't make eye contact. They won't say nothing to you. They walk by. You can't form a neighborhood of people who are willing to stick together. They're scared to even say hi to you.
Well, that's part of it. You know what part of that process is? You know what part of that is? And I'm not saying it's something that has to getting over. Part of that process is in today's society, nowadays, a lot of those people, see, neighborhoods where we're from, everyone in our neighborhood is from there. Like, all of the people there is from there. Like, they know their parents know their other parents, and the other parents know the grandparents, and so on and so forth. Whereas here, ain't none of us from around here. We all moved up here. And you're having a lot of, and it's not necessarily a bad thing, you're having a lot more diverse communities where kids are branching out and moving and taking new opportunities. But in the background, the downside to that is you go into these neighborhoods where everyone is from somewhere else. It's not a neighborhood where you grew up with them and I know your mom and your mom knows my mom and this, that, and the third, and we grew up like that. You're not having that. So now you come in here still thinking you're from wherever you was from, instead of saying this is my home now. And you hear that in a lot of. I get into a conversation with a friend of mine on a regular basis. She always says something to the effect of, "If you wasn't born here, you ain't from here." And I always try to tell her, I said, well, that logic is part of the problem. because you already dividing your community right out the gate. Especially now where there's going to be more people from somewhere else, and they're not considered. I could live here for 22 years, and you don't consider me a neighbor. That makes no sense. It's not where you're from, it's where you're at. You know what I mean? If you're here now, this is your home. If this is what you're gonna claim to be your home, then damn it, that's what it is. I'm not gonna sit there and say, well, I could rep where I'm from and say, well, when I was younger, but that's mostly gonna be in conversations. That's not gonna be in the practice, because the reality is I'm not where I'm from right now. I'm here now. This is my house.
Fakes, if you don't mind, I want to turn the conversation a little bit, and we kind of talked about a lot of the problems. One final comment I do want to say on it before we move to the next one is that the term law enforcement officers, you know, they're there to enforce the law, and in this particular case, it doesn't appear clear that they follow the law in terms of how they handle the young boy in the interrogation process and the contacting of parents process, questioning of a minor, especially if they did not follow the bond procedures. I don't see how the two connect. So the people who are supposed to enforcing it aren't really enforcing it, which is part of the problem. But the other side of this coin that I want to talk about is the response from the community. We want to, I guess, wrap in about 10 minutes or so. Is the response that came out, because what happened following all this is you saw NASA says, hey, come drive the rover, and the president said, hey, bring the clock to the White House, and Zuckerberg jumped up and said, come over to Facebook. MIT says, hey, come and visit us. So you have this one boy now, like everyone wants to go in and support him, which is awesome, don't get me wrong, but I think the bigger picture also is that young inventors of color, if you look at how, especially the public school system is, and the school system is, you know, a lot of public school systems are struggling with budgets. You know, private schools tend to be doing a little bit better, but public schools are really struggling with budgets and trying to get these extra services to these young people. And here you have all these major organizations courting this young boy, and looking at it, you know, Bison says there's no point about talking about racism anymore. You know, it really is time for action. It's time for people to say we've got to start closing this gap. And if you look at like the number of minorities hired at major IT firms and software, there's a gap, and there's a gap that needs to be filled. So there's obviously some work that needs to be done. So the community, electronics and technology community rallied behind this one boy. But what about programs? What about and not to say that there aren't programs, but I just want to bring focus on those programs that these young inventors can be more inspired, can receive better training, that don't have access to those types of facilities and that types of technology. Why rally behind one when there are another 100 behind him who don't have the resources that they need? The Popular Samurai is very involved in community, and you know, he's really plugged in. You know, probably, do you see that there's that needs to be, you know, we need to have more services and more programs in place so that we can enrich these young men and women?
Honestly, yes and no. One, I definitely think that, you know, both locally and nationally, you need individuals like Ahmed being inspired and supported and being seen as an example of, you know, kind of like what's possible. So I'm all for, you know, NASA, Zuckerberg, the president really stepping up to, you know, kind of really show that level of support and show them what else is out there, you know, kind of counter that racist narrative. Two, take DC for example. DC, like, you know, Northeast, Northwest, Southwest, like, they have a lot of brand new facilities. The city has put a lot of money into um, uh, health facilities, you know, basketball courts, youth centers, things of that nature, and the the rates of usage are low. You know, and actually, when I was working on my master's, I did a research study, you know, about, you know, the overall health impacts in neighborhoods in DC. You know, and one of the things that came about is like DC has an overabundance of facilities, but not an abundance of users. And what really came out of that study was not so much a need for the facilities and the resources, but more of a need for mentors and a cultural shift. And that's something like a much larger conversation that we should be having, kind of around that. So, in the sense, I agree with you that resources need to be applied. And again, I'm going to pick on DC public schools for a minute again. Per student per capita, DC spends more per student per capita than just about any other place in the country. But we have a failing school system in the District of Columbia. So what does that tell you? Like, it's more than just throwing money at the problem. Like, we have to. There's a difference between throwing money at something and actually making an investment.
Oh, yeah.
Can I
Absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, Gikonis.
here is another example of where I think we fail to look at these situations, and I applaud the young brother Ahmed. When he was interviewed, he mentioned that he would hope that he would be able to use what happened to him to help others like him. So I'm glad that he was forward thinking and saying that at 14 years old. But one of the issues I have, when we talk about all the people who jumped on this as a rallying cry, this was the time where people, instead of saying, oh, cool, look at all this stuff Microsoft sent him, everyone should have been tweeting, hey, Microsoft, hey, Apple, hey, whomever, can you guys start hiring more people like Ahmed? Can you put some, can you put some more money into this situation? Again, it's about, I don't know, I think we have to start thinking more individual steps that can be taken, because what happens is when concepts are too broad, it's easy to get caught up in the concept and the feeling and the hashtags and never get anything substantive out of it. He's going to go to the White House, he's going to go to see Facebook, all these other things. And for him, life is probably going to go on. He's going to probably get to go to MIT or wherever he wants to go. But the issue is still going to be there, and people can go ahead and say, yeah, it's done. And be perfectly honest, this was some of the criticism that happened at the Obama election. And I'm not trying to be racial or to go after, white people, but a lot of people was like, a lot of people voted for him as of saying, look, see, I proved that I'm not racist. I can vote for a black guy without ever really tackling, now we got this black president, and everyone got shocked when people start calling him and his family the N-word, And it was like, no, racism wasn't over. There was still functional things on the ground. How many young Obamas out there that we need to be helping to develop and cultivate, make sure they got good textbooks and things of that nature. It's the same thing. Hey, Zuckerberg, who's actually giving money to the DC school system, actually. Hey, Apple, hey, Microsoft, instead of charging these schools for tablets and stuff, why don't you give it to them for free? Write it off. You got enough money. Things of that nature. We got to start challenging on things, on the idea of money, right? I know his name is not PC, and everybody might get a little upset when I say it, but I want to say it. Minister Farrakhan. He said, something simple, which I thought was amazing, because a lot of the critique out of the original Million Man March was there was no plan on a larger scale at the end. Well, one of the things he's coming up with on the 20th anniversary of the march here, October 10th, he wants everybody to boycott Black Friday. And he's saying, he said, it's not going to hurt us to miss a Christmas. Just think if everybody just said, you know what, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, I'm tired of these corporations who don't give a dang about us. We're going to just keep our money in our pocket. Not saying that you can't still buy gifts. You can do that in December. You can do that on other days in November. But those 2 days in particular is when the industry expects to get in the black. So they want you to spend all your money then between that Thursday. Now they're doing it on Wednesday to get it a little bit early in. Between that Wednesday to Tuesday, they want you to drop as much money as possible so they can stay afloat and continue to pay low wages and continue to not support the communities they're in and continue to make money while we still stay poor. Now imagine if you shut down their whole operation by saying, I'll wait the next week. And the same thing, and these are practical steps. Even when, here on the geek level, when we talk about we're getting tired of them not doing movies with, black people or Hispanic people or women. What if we got, and this is another thing, black people got to start reaching out beyond just black, We got to look at the Latino community. We got to look at women. We got to look at all these other marginalized communities and come together and say, you know what? We're tired of the Hollywood making Exodus movies and Ridley Scott still defending his decision to have that all-white cast. What if we said, guess what? We're not paying to see another superhero movie, regardless if it's Marvel or DC, until y'all start putting the type of characters in there we want to see. What if we did that and stood by it? That's the thing. We talk. We love talking. We love doing hashtags. We love marching. We love doing speeches. We love doing podcasts. We love doing all this stuff. But how many people are going to say, you know what? I know Civil War is coming out. I know Batman, Superman is coming out. But I'll go see it in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Now, I'm not saying don't go see the movie. See, there's a difference. You got to remember, these corporations expect their money at a certain time frame. Just throwing them off a couple weeks will send a message.
Right.
Just imagine if we took steps like that. Like, yo, Zuckerberg, nice tweet, nice post on Facebook. But instead of when you invite him to Facebook, how about you donate to Black Girls Code or to one of these STEM projects in my local city? Serve it out to them on a platter. Pick a school district that you know could use that support and send it to them. Get people to retweet it. They got the money. It's just easy for us to sit there and retweet a good word from somebody, and then we walk away feeling good. Say, "Oh, ain't that nice?" Microsoft sent them all its surfaces and stuff. And we just sit back and say, "Oh, ain't that nice?" and we walk away. That's why we still don't know what happened to bring back our girls. That's why we still don't have justice for Trayvon, because we get a token or a gesture, and we accept that, and we just walk away into the sunset, and then when something else comes, we get all outraged all over again.
Well, sometimes you just walk up to the news media and open their mouth. So, I'm just saying.
This is true. What I want to do is we got, like I said, I wanted to wrap. I want to go roundtable. Final thoughts about the conversation. Final thoughts about I Stand with Ahmed. About driving those funds down to the level where they're really, really needed. Just final comments. Oh, wait! Before I do that, I wanna highlight the really great folks that have been in the chat room today. I think a first-time viewer. Sorry, gotta look at it. Clement Lewis Jr. Thanks so much for stopping by. I think it's your first-time viewer. We have the Armchair Commentary, Bison for Life. We also have Duke CT, Arts Humana, and I know I saw St. Clinton. I said hello to him when we first walked in. So thanks, man. We really appreciate all you guys taking the time to be down for the Black Geeks. Listen to the conversation. I'm going to go around the roundtable, and see if the brothers have final thoughts. So I'm going to start with King Face. Final thoughts, Face.
I do. I want to kind of touch on what someone in the chat said about us being a minority, and do we really have the ability to shut down things like that? So let me just say this. The reality is we spend probably more money than in senseless stuff than any. We make up a large spending population. This is a fact. And that minority stuff, that is I'm not saying there isn't such thing as a minority. I just don't buy into it like you hear. You know what I mean? We can make moves. You can make noise. And if any percentage of the population decides they're not buying something, especially a percentage of the population that is known for just spending money, even when they supposedly ain't got it, that will make a huge difference. That will make a dent. And when you make a dent in my pockets, I'm gonna take notice. If I'm missing 50 cents, I'm gonna take notice. So if they missing a few $1 billion, they definitely gonna take notice. That is real. And I think if you start doing that, no one wants to cut into their money. No one wants to cut into any money, no matter how small. And I think that is definitely we are definitely capable. The question is, how we gonna do it though?
Yeah.
If everybody said right now they ain't trying to do something, I'm game. I'd do it. I have no problem.
Stop giving Michael Jordan that money.
Yeah.
Them 23 was hot though.
Let me go to Ghost and let me get his final comments. Ghost, what are your final comments, thoughts?
My final comments. Take care of you and yours and worry about everybody else later.
There you go. Potbelly Samurai.
Accountability. I mean, I say this a lot, and I probably got several quotes that get attributed to me for the sentiment, but we have to start holding folks accountable, and that starts with us and the way we carry ourselves, the language in which we use, but also what we allow to be done to us, by us, and for us. And, we have to start holding ourselves to a higher standard, and we have to start holding those around us to a higher standard. And I agree, it's nice that he gets to go to the White House. I mean, it's cool going to the White House. I've been there several times, mainly for work, but I do get to go to the White House on a fairly regular basis. I've never been to Facebook. I'd like to go hang out with Zuckerberg for a little while. And it's cool that he's probably going to get to go to college for free. That's great. But at the same time, what steps are going to be taken to counteract the mechanisms within the system to create the necessity for these token gestures? The school system, the police, all need to be held accountable for that. So it goes back to the economics of it. Hit them in the pocket. Call the lawyers. Folks start getting fired. They'll be less likely to start sending kids to jail even for a short period of time over foolishness if you might lose your job.
Yeah, absolutely. Darky Conius, final comments and thoughts.
Do or do not. There is no try.
Whoa. Thank you, Darky Conius. So it was mentioned in the chat. For my final comment, I want to talk about I had the pleasure of being on a podcast yesterday, Afro Nerd Radio. You can go check them out on Blog Talk. It was a really great conversation, and we talked a lot about what we talked about here today and putting the mechanism in place that we can share information and that we can unify and try to say, hey, we're going to shut down some things. And so, Faye said it, we're kind of beyond the point of talk at this point. I mean, we're just so far beyond talk that we've got to move to action. We've got to work together. We've got to build the mechanisms to communicate, to mobilize. You look at what Black Lives Matter movement has done. They've done that. They've taken a grassroots concept. They've taken a hashtag and turned it into a movement. We have to do the same thing. If we want the change to take place, we have to be that change. So, we've got to talk about this. What can you do? Start talking about it with your friends and family. For those who are watching this, just find two people and just talk about it. Just open up a conversation. It's like, hey, you know what? We got a lot of power, and we're not being properly served. Maybe if we can work together, would you be willing to wait on buying your Christmas gifts or, maybe buy them early just to show how much power we have? Because that was one of the conversations we had was, we're not saying don't go to the movie, but if we as a Blur collective say we're not going to go on Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, but we're going to go on Friday the next week and let them see those numbers. Let them see that jump of the numbers. You see how the collective power of us as buyers and hitting them in the money and in the pockets. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks for everyone for their incredible comments in the chat. Really appreciate it. If you are a new listener, new viewer, thank you very much. We really appreciate it. You can check out more of the content on www.theblackgeeks.com. We've got lots of news articles there. We've got our Twitter feed there. You can see all our previous shows there. You can look us up, see some of the other really great topics we talked about. We're on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, SoundCloud, Tumblr, Instagram. We're just all over the place, and we're still always trying to update the feeds more and more. If there's even a forum on the website where we have conversations about things after a while. So thank you all so much. We do this every Sunday at 10:30 p.m. Unless there's a con or something major in that way that prevents us from doing it. But we're here. We're here for you, and you can reach us on Facebook, Twitter, at the Black Geeks, and you can catch all these guys. You can pretty much all our names are our Twitters: Dark Econius, K Face, Good Pharaoh's Ghost, Potbelly Samurai. We're all on Twitter, and also Dark Phoenix, who's now here with us tonight. Our Lady Geek. She's off doing her geekness. So make sure you tune back in next Sunday, same bad time, same bad channel. Tell a friend, tell a relative. Give the gift of Black Geekdom. You know, it never hurt anybody. Thanks, all of you all. Appreciate it. That's our live broadcast for tonight. See you back here, 10:30 p.m. next week. Peace.